we are responsible just as much for our intention as we are for our impact. So it doesn't fully matter what you mean if what you mean didn't come out in the way that you delivered it. Which is difficult for us to comprehend because yes, you cannot control the way that a person experiences you. And yes, they need to do their own work, but that does not give us license to just do and say whatever we want to say. Well, I didn't mean it that way. If they took it that way, that's on them. No. You are responsible for making sure that the way that I impacted you, the way that I said it, that I can stand by it in my intentions and in the presence of God. I am responsible for making sure that my intention and my impact align. Which is why relationships become so challenging for us. Not just our relationship with Jesus, but also our relationships with others. Because there's a certain level of humility required for us to make sure that our intentions are constantly aligning with our impact as much as possible. When we're parenting, I like that. When we're loving on one another, I have a responsibility to make sure that this all aligns because I recognize that in this season of my life, in the influence that God has given me, and everyone, if you know one person you have influence, that influence could be the very thing that makes or breaks who God is calling them to be. I am responsible for my impact because I never want to say or do anything that robs you from becoming who God has called you to be. I recognize that when you recognize that you have been the villain in somebody's story, it changes. Everyone has been the victim, and we can shout all day about who did you wrong. But if we were really honest, there are some of us who have been the villain in other people's story, and not because I meant to, but because I was so blind to the way that my words come out. I was so blind to my own brokenness that I hurt you in the process. When you become aware that I can sometimes act in a way that even I don't agree with, it makes you listen differently when everyone is saying the same thing that you don't know how to talk to people. Maybe it's nothing wrong with their ears. Maybe it's something wrong with your mouth. And you mean well, but you're not always doing well. I think that Paul unpacks this in great lengths in Romans 7. He says, "For I do not do the good I want to do, but I do the evil I do not want to do." Wait a minute. I don't do what I want to do. My intention is not showing up in my action. I do the very thing that I don't want to do. My impact, there's a distance. This I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it's no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. This word sin, when you look it up in the Greek, it means hermetia. It means to miss the mark. Oh, I'm gonna say this. Sometimes in church, not this church, other churches, we'll talk about other churches. We reduce sin down to maybe who you're sleeping with and whether or not you lie. But when we see sin as missing the mark of who we are called to be, it humbles us because we recognize each day that I wake up, there are moments where the thing I want to do, I don't do. I don't want to talk to you crazy. I don't want to shut you out. I want to be open. I want to be honest. I want to be vulnerable. But the thing that I want to do, I do not do. And it is sin that is doing it in me. What if we saw those moments where we miss the mark as not as just being human, but as is actually sinning, missing the mark on who God has called us to be, as a partner who God has called us to be, as a parent who God has called us to be, as a leader who God has called us to be, as a friend. I know it's not one of those sexy messages, but I'm telling you that you have to recognize that there is a possibility that you are missing the mark.